the Politics program, brought to you as always by everybody who supports us at TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That is where you can support this show. Look, we've been burning the midnight oil here for you guys. We really want to continue to reward your faith in this enterprise. We have been bringing you interview episodes at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. For everybody who supports at the $3 a week level, we're making it worth it for you by giving you updates on Monday and Friday. Last week, we went 5 wide, 5 new podcasts, 1 new podcast per day, and we do it for you. And all we ask in return is if you think it's worth it, and if you want those Monday episodes, you want those Friday episodes, you head on over to TakePoliticsSeriously.com and you kick us a few dollars. I mean, it's the way that I can continue to make this my living. I very greatly appreciate you guys keeping me free of any boss that's telling me to shove some narrative down your throat. I get to say exactly what I want, exactly when I want because of you guys. TakePoliticsSeriously.com. But enough of talking about how we support the show. What do you say we just do the damn thing? Yeah. Yeah. Welcome back. As if we never left. Politics podcast back up in that ass for the 99 and the 2000. We got a lot to talk about. Jesus Christ, do we have a lot to talk about? The Mueller report might be dropping next week. We have the best intelligence that we have had on that. We might be watching people walk back our expectations on the Mueller report. Those two stories may or may not be something that are linked. We have a startling development in the Jussie Smollett hate crime investigation. We've got a incoming possible ending of the Korean War. We've got Andrew McCabe's new book. We've got Gavin Newsom continuing to build his resume for 2024. And we have Kirsten Gillibrand blocking a woman just trying to get some motherfucking ranch. A pole dance, we got your emails. But first, we begin with our top story this week, and that is a bold prediction. Guys, I want you to clip this one out. Save it. Because, here we go, I believe that Bernie Sanders is going to win the 2020 primary. So just keep that one. Keep that one in your back pocket so you can either say that I'm right, you can either say that I'm wrong. If Bernie Sanders hilariously flames out, if Bernie Sanders is getting his ass kicked, you can throw it back in my face, but I'm logging it in. I'm locking it right now, February 20th, 2019. I'm saying that my prediction of who is going to win the 2020 primary is Bernie Sanders. Now, you might ask, why? Why do I believe that Bernie Sanders is going to win the 2020 Democratic nomination? For a party that he's not a member of, by the way. That is still the fact. He is still an independent. He is not a Democrat. Well, I got to thinking. Bernie Sanders announced that he is officially running for president yesterday, at the time that I'm recording this. And it got me to thinking, why do I have this gut feeling? Why do I have a gut feeling that Bernie is going to win? Well, here's the number one thing. This is before and after anything else. It is the one lesson that stuck out to me in 2016 among anything else, right? You can focus on Comey's letter. You can focus on Clinton's gender. You can focus on the emails. You can focus on grab him by the pussy. You can focus on Trump and the imploding GOP. You can focus on shifting demographics. You can focus on a million different things. Here's the one thing that I focused on. Authenticity moved the needle. Fake shit didn't. Now, this is a fundamental shift from how we have looked at politics previously. We have always looked at politics as a little, like Altered Beast. Remember that game? Rise from your grave. You are constantly evolving. You are evolving. You're shifting to the left for the primaries. You're shifting to the right for the general election. You're taking a little bit from there. You're massaging your message. So maybe you take a big, strong opinion you had in the past. Let's shave down those edges a little bit so the people who are going to be voting for you don't think too poorly of you, huh? Let's go ahead and triangulate. That was the Clintonian phrase, right? Let's make sure that we take a little bit from that point, a little bit from that point, and I'm always in the middle. I'm never too far away from any of you. I'm always in the middle. You hate this person. You hate this person. Well, look at me. I'm right next to you. The thing that moved the needle for both Trump and Bernie was authenticity. You can have an opinion about both of them. And goddamn, do many people have an opinion about both of them. But you are almost positive, whether or not you are for or against them, that you know them. You know who Bernie Sanders is. He is a sentient potato sack who's pushing forward the most out front socialism we have seen in modern politics. He stands out because he is not something that anybody else would say. He has fundamentally shifted the Democratic Party to the left. We do not have AOC if there is no Bernie. And so, despite the fact that he is older than dirt, he is running for president. And I think it is hard for anyone to honestly look at the Democratic Party and not say, Bernie left a mark. This is what happened in his debut video. His debut video basically is him showing all these headlines of like people saying when he was running in 2016, outlandish, never gonna happen. The American people will never support these kinds of programs. And then the receipts of other politicians bringing up what he said, or him bringing up what he said, or the progress that has been made on the issues that he brought up. Effectively, his message was, I started this gangster shit, and this the motherfucking thanks I get? So he's back. He's running. Now let's get into the strategy, because you know, your boy, he loves that strategy. Bernie is best positioned to mitigate his faults by pushing his progressive policies and forcing his opponents to drift left or to draw a line in the sand and say that they are against Bernie Sanders' proposals. And this is going to happen early and often. A lot of people are thinking, oh, okay, well, before he was running against Clinton, it was a one-on-one race from the very beginning. Those fundamentals are greatly different than a gang fuck primary like we're about to see transpire. And Clinton initially was like, I'll ignore him. I'm just doing my thing. And then she got nervous. She started capitulating more to Bernie. Bernie didn't take a ton of fire from Clinton. And Bernie didn't hit Clinton with a ton of fire. By and large, for as one-on-one primaries go, they were fairly congenial to each other. Now, you can look at how the DNC operated and say that the DNC was unfair behind the scenes, as we found out from the leaks. But in terms of on stage, in commercials, Clinton never hit Bernie with anything as bad as the Barack Obama, it's 3 a.m., and somebody's calling the White House. Who do you feel more comfortable answering the phone? So if you're Bernie, you basically, with chief understanding that you are as far to the left as anybody's going to go, you effectively now dare everybody else in your party to follow you. Because either you are going to be the Pied Piper and you can say, hey, isn't it weird that all these other people didn't have these opinions and then I showed up? Funny, isn't it? Or you force them to differentiate themselves and say, I'm not for Medicare for all. I'm not for breaking up the banks. I'm not for free education. And if your plan is to do that, then a Bernie supporter might say, can I interest you in a view of the charred corpse of Howard Schultz's campaign? Look at that. It's smoldering. You can probably still light a cigarette off his nose. He has been decimated for being an out-of-touch billionaire. So, if that's how people treated him, how are they going to treat you, Amy Klobuchar? How are they going to treat you, Joe Biden? How are they going to treat you, Cory Booker? Speaking of Joe Biden, Bernie has probably the second biggest name recognition. Biden obviously probably has the biggest name recognition because he was standing next to Obama. But Bernie's well known. And those who don't agree with him politically will probably agree with him if he gains electability. Here's the other thing. On the subject of electability, the Bernie would have won folk legend. Oh, you can't talk to a Bernie Sanders supporter without getting some Bernie would have won. Oh, the Bernie would have won. It comes forward. I was on Twitter yesterday. And I said exactly what I said here. I believe that Bernie Sanders is going to win the Democratic nomination. And I got Bernie would have won. Somebody got fucking pissed at me because I said that a Bernie Sanders supporter got pissed at me because I said Bernie is going to win. And I'm getting these poll numbers from 2016 showing him up over Donald Trump. And I'm like, what the fuck do you want me to do? I don't know what you want me to do. I'm saying he's going to win. That's my prediction. I'm on your side. Why are you? And I got another tweet that's like, did you even look at the polls? I'm going to go take a walk. I'm like, dude. I don't know. But here's what I do know. I do know the fact that Bernie would have won is out there. Nobody will forget Bernie would have won. You've got a lot of Bernie supporters out there that want to let everybody know that Bernie would have won in 2016. I think that plus good poll numbers plus caucus and primary victories equals electability. It equals the idea that this idea is so crazy, it just might work. It just might happen. And as soon as the Democratic electorate starts believing that, the question then stops becoming, is Bernie viable? And starts becoming, who's more viable? Which, I don't know, man. I've seen Bernie on the campaign trail. Bernie on the campaign trail is Bernie. It's that same dude. The one guy that's outpacing him poll-wise, who has yet to enter the race, is Joe Biden. And I've seen Biden on the campaign trail too. It's not so good, Al. Like, let's remember that Joe Biden had his image rehabilitated because of 8 years of Obama. He was not a viable presidential candidate before. So you are betting that either the culture or Joe Biden has changed enough that now he will be good on the campaign trail, which I don't know. He was fine when he was a VP. He was fine when he was dancing to the Obama message. But if he's allowed to freewheel, if he's allowed to freelance, telling me he ain't gonna, kiss on some strange dude's wife's neck? He's not gonna say something really fucked up? And here's the biggest thing with Bernie. He is a goddamn money factory. Goddamn money factory. I'm just saying. That dude is printing this cash. $5.9 million in his first 24 hours. It was such an amount of cash, I had to go ahead and email your friend, my friend, the world's friend, Dave Leventhal from the Center for Public Integrity. They are the people to watch, in my opinion, when it comes to money stuff coming in. They are specifically there to look at money in politics. Please give them your attention. They are well worth it. The Center for Public Integrity. I emailed Dave Leventhal and I asked him this question. On a scale from 1 to Jesus fucking Christ, how big is that Bernie Sanders number from his perspective? He wrote back, it's a solid holy Moses. I love Dave. Dave is a serious guy. Dave is a world-renowned expert on shit like this. And Dave answers in like 5 minutes. In like 5 minutes, he emails me back and says, it's a solid holy Moses on a scale of 1 to Jesus fucking Christ. I love Dave. He's so great. It alone, we continue. It alone will not win him the Democratic nomination. And that kind of cashgasm is often only possible inside of a political singularity, like the candidate announcing that he or she is running, or in the case of Heidi Heitkamp in October, saying that she'd vote against Brett Kavanaugh. But Sanders' haul is a serious cash that he alone controls and represents almost half of what he had in reserve the day before. That's a lot of fucking money. I think Kamala Harris raised like $1 million. This is $6 million. That dude has Tropicana in his pocket. He's got that juice. So what does it get us? Well, if Bernie Sanders wins the Democratic nomination, it gets us Trump versus Bernie. But more importantly, it gets America its first legitimate question of how we feel about the concept of American socialism. The real question there becomes, who's more excited about that idea? The socialist or the guy running against him? I want to remind everybody that you can get insights like this in my free political newsletter. Again, freepoliticalnewsletter.com is where you can get it 5 days a week, 5 stories a day, mostly gifts, sometimes hot takes. I want to thank everybody. We've had a nice little run on this over the last few weeks. I want to thank everybody who emailed back to make sure that Gmail keeps this son of a bitch outside of your spam and outside of your offers. Thank you to everybody who emailed me back. Please do me a favor. If you haven't already emailed me back when you're getting the free political newsletter, go ahead and do it this week. We're going to keep this going for another couple of weeks just to make sure that we rate well with Google's algorithm. And I can keep getting you 5 stories a day, 5 days a week, some gifts, mostly hot takes at freepoliticalnewsletter.com. Big story out of CNN today, just dropped as I was putting the show together. It appears as if the Justice Department, now helmed by the newly appointed Bill Barr, is expecting the Mueller report as early as next week. We read now from this CNN story. Attorney General Bill Barr is preparing to announce as early as next week the completion of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation, with plans for Barr to submit to Congress soon after a summary of Mueller's confidential report, according to people familiar with the plans. The preparations are the clearest indicator yet that Mueller is nearly done with his almost 2-year investigation. The precise timing of the announcement is subject to change. The scope and contours of what Barr will send to Congress do remain unclear. Also unclear is how long it will take justice officials to prepare what will be submitted to lawmakers. But with President Donald Trump soon to travel overseas to a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, justice officials are mindful of not interfering with the White House's diplomatic efforts, which could impact the timing. The Justice Department and the Special Counsel's office both declined to comment. Barr has said he wants to be as transparent as possible with Congress and the public, consistent with the rules of law. We're already seeing some of the fallout for this today, at least on social media, specifically the insinuation that Barr is maybe rushing this out, is shutting down this investigation, which I think if that is the case, we will probably hear more of that via leaks. I think it is more consistent with my following of the story that Mueller did not trust this to come out under Whitaker, and that we might have been closer to this being done maybe even weeks ago, but that he didn't like Whitaker, didn't want to release it under there, didn't know how much would get out, knows Bob Barr, wants to make sure that as much gets out as possible, waited for Barr to be confirmed, and now he knows that he is pretty much going to be able to pass everything along. Can I just tell you, Ace Perf is asking here in the chat, if he didn't trust Whitaker, why does he trust Barr? Because they're friends. Apparently, Mueller and Barr are friends. Remember, William Barr was the Attorney General for George H.W. Bush. So he is somebody that back in the day, Donald Trump would have referred to as the Swamp, a permanent D.C. resident who is a part of multiple administrations, is a fixture in D.C. So apparently Mueller and Bob Barr know each other, and that's why he would not trust Whitaker, who he does not know. He trusts Barr, who he does know. That's that. I'm so excited for this to be over. Although nothing's going to be over. And we have an email about this a little bit later in the show. But there is no ending to this. We will never stop talking about Donald Trump's connections to Russia. But at least we can stop talking about the Mueller report. We can stop talking. We can stop pretending that there is some imaginary world-bending information in a report that we have not read yet. Either we are going to get world-bending information, we will realize that the castle we have built in the sand will be wiped away by a wave of truth, or we're going to get more official summarizations of things that we kind of already know. In fact, that's what I'm guessing is probably going to be more the case. And it doesn't help that we are getting some indications that people who are critical of the Trump administration might think that we should not get our hopes too high up for what is in that Mueller report. In fact, James Clapper, who has been very, very, very critical of Donald Trump as well as his handling of law enforcement, he seemed to walk back any hype and excitement of what is going to be in this report. Here is Clapper on CNN discussing what we can expect from this report.
A possible scenario is the Robert Mueller investigation and what's happening in Congress enough?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's the big question. I think the hope is that the Mueller investigation will clear the air on this issue once and for all. I'm really not sure it will, and the investigation, when completed, could turn out to be quite anticlimactic and not draw a conclusion about that. Again, I don't know.
That's not something you want to hear if you assume there's a bombshell. If you are betting, if you've got money. Somebody asked in the chat what I think of betting markets. All right, if you've got a betting market, right, and you put actual cash down, it's one of those you got to bet $1 or something, or let's say it's one of these European betting markets where you can actually put down a little coin. And you're saying that Donald Trump will be impeached because of the Mueller report. You don't want somebody who probably doesn't know what's in the report, but probably knows people who knows what's in the report, and it can probably, like not anything official, but you hear something and you're at a barbecue and your friend says, you know what, I heard my friend say that this is in the Mueller report. You don't want him on TV saying this might be anticlimactic. And if that doesn't give you a bad idea, then, you have Adam Schiff, who literally is making his name crawling up in the president's butthole and living there permanently. He is there to agitate 45. There to agitate 45. He said that whether or not the Mueller report comes back with anything that is actionable, he will continue the hunt for the truth. That's not what you want to hear. You want to hear the Mueller report. We're going to wait for the Mueller report, and then we are going to seize upon it. That's what you want to hear. You don't want to hear the other thing. Now, I'm not saying that this is proof of anything. I'm saying this is just a bad omen. You'd prefer another omen. If you are here for the Mueller report being devastating, you would prefer another omen. Right? That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm so excited that it's going to be done, man. Oh, my God. Oh, my Jesus Christ. I'm just tired of that. Here's what I'm just tired of. I'm just tired of not knowing. I'll be more annoyed if it shows that Donald Trump is like an actual Russian asset. Like, I would be annoyed. Like, really? You fucking waited until now. Until now. We can't find out if he's like, if you're like, oh, yeah, here's this video we have of him, shaking hands with President Putin. And we have him on tape saying, yep, I'm here to give glory to Mother Russia. These rubes in the Republican Party will never see it coming. And then here's an unbroken clip of them laughing together for 2 minutes. Man, I'd be like, you had a Russian asset run the fucking country? Really? That's crazy. Man, I like you, Mueller, but you're crazy. I don't even know what to do with that. That's wild. Tally Zarell in our chat room says, what will it take to get that evil piece of shit out of office? 2020. I mean, if you want to know when's going to get Trump out of office, I believe that that's going to be the best option. Is, you don't like the president, you try to vote him out. And I'll say this. If you are really invested in getting Donald Trump out as soon as possible, it is in your best interest to start supporting the 2020 candidate you believe in the most soon, because they are going to need your help now more than ever to have them break out of the gravity well that is a 20-person gang fuck primary. All right, we got a lot more stories that we got to bang through. So let's go ahead and do our parade of wrong opinions. Chicago. The police department has officially changed the subject of their investigation into an investigation into filing a false police report. For Jussie Smollett, the actor from Empire, who said he was attacked by two men saying this is MAGA country. They beat him up. They poured bleach on him. They put a rope around his neck, a noose around his neck. Evidence seems to point to the fact that he made it up. And the two dudes are his friends. And they went to Nigeria to try to get the heat off him. It turns out they couldn't outrun the cops. And now there's video footage of the two men, the two guys that were hired by Smollett to beat him up, buying some of the items that they used in the attack. I don't have a lot to say about this topic. I've tried to stay away from it, but here's the one thing I do want to point out. If this is what it says it was, what the police are currently investigating Smollett for, then it was a deliberate hoax meant to exploit how inhumane we see our opposition. It is meant to exploit our inhumanity to each other. And I think that that is very gross because it worked. It worked to a T. It worked beyond his expectation. In fact, it probably worked too well. If he just would have gotten 2 days of press out of this, he probably would have gotten away with it, despite the fact that it was a very shitty hoax. The fact that he got caught doesn't change the fact that he crafted this to exploit a hole in our humanity toward each other. And it's one of those things that I strive to bring in this show. It's not just my hot takes, although I think I am pretty smart. More than that, I just want to bring at least an understanding that beyond people that are beyond the pale, right? There are people that we disagree with that we can still understand, that we can still not think are inhumane pieces of garbage that beat people up and throw nooses around their neck. I hope that I can do that. I don't know. Am I right about that?
Wrong!
Oh, Jesus. We're going to have to cut that for the podcast. We'll do that again.
Wrong!
All right, Donald Trump. He's going to be in Vietnam. We mentioned in the Mueller report stuff that he is going to meet with Kim Jong-un. Apparently, according to the Associated Press, on the table during this meeting will be ending the Korean War. I legitimately did not know that we were still in the Korean War. We're still at war with North Korea. We never stopped. This is like the biggest. It's like when you leave the house and you forgot to turn the oven off. This is what North Korea wants most in the world. It seems that Donald Trump is going to offer it. I would be blown away if he does not end the war for whatever. Whether or not North Korea is good for whatever we promise it is another story, but I think that this is very much on brand for Donald Trump to say we are just ending forever wars. And here's a great example of a forever war. The war that the guy who covers politics didn't know we were still in. Am I right?
Wrong!
Is Andrew McCabe helping or hurting the cause to damage Donald Trump? Andrew McCabe has a new book out. He had an interview on 60 Minutes in which he discussed the fact that he indeed did gauge interest in trying to organize Donald Trump's cabinet to remove him from office via the 25th Amendment. If you're unfamiliar with what the 25th Amendment does, if the majority of a president's cabinet thinks they are medically or mentally unfit to serve, you can remove the president. Now, I get that Andrew McCabe hates that man, and I think he has ample reason to. And I think that, I don't know what it's like to be in his shoes as the acting FBI director, to be on the sidelines while somebody you respect in James Comey is fired from his dream job. But I do know this. Donald Trump's narrative is that there was a deep state coup to get him out of office. And you saying, yes, for God and country, I organized an attempt to remove the president from office. The fact that Donald Trump and his cohorts are running with this narrative makes me wonder whether or not you are achieving what you had set out to achieve, Mr. McCabe. Whether or not you are not legitimizing everything that Donald Trump has said. And if the goal of this book and the goal of your press tour was to damage the presidency, I don't know if you have done that. Am I right?
Wrong!
There is a 2024 watch. Yes, Gavin Newsom is running for president in 2024. He is assuming that Donald Trump wins a second term, and he is now running for president in 2024. I am reporting this exclusively on the Politics podcast. Oh, and also breaking news, Jussie Smollett has indeed been indicted now, according to Jedi71 in our chat room, for filing a false police report. So that is the latest news that I am finding firsthand from Jedi71 in our Twitch chat room. If it is wrong, then please blame Jedi71 on Twitch. Gavin Newsom is running for president because he is jousting back and forth with Donald Trump about funding for a California train that had been allocated federal funds. It was supposed to go from San Francisco to L.A. It is now going to go from, Bakersfield to Merced, which is, God knows, as a California resident, I don't know what that daily traffic is going to be going from Bakersfield to Merced. Doesn't even really make sense. I mean, it would make more sense if it even went from San Francisco to Fresno or L.A. to Merced or something like that. But Gavin Newsom is now fighting because Donald Trump says that he wants the money that was federally allocated back. All that money is spent, by the way. And Gavin Newsom has taken the bait and is going back and forth in a public manner. Why? Because as we've reported exclusively, Gavin Newsom is running for president in 2024. Right?
Wrong!
And finally, I want to play you this audio, and everybody who is watching us on video here at on YouTube or Twitch. This was Kirsten Gillibrand running for president, as people who are running for president often do. They spend their time in Iowa. They try to talk to local Iowans in preparation for that caucus. Ladies and gentlemen, every once in a while, a hero rises up amongst us. Here is Kirsten Gillibrand talking, and you will hear a woman try to get past her.
I don't think you should back away from the bold ideas that the base and the grassroots care about. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some ranch. Go ahead.
Kirsten Gillibrand, if you are only listening on audio, has her ass up on a mid-seating plan booth. The woman comes up, Kirsten Gillibrand initially puts her arm on her shoulder, thinking that this woman is going to come up and pour her heart out to Gillibrand. She then hits her with this now iconic line.
And the grassroots care about. Sorry,
I'm just trying to get some ranch.
Go ahead.
Let me just say this about Iowans. They fucking love ranch. They dip anything in ranch. They dip pizza in ranch. They take a pizza, they dip it in ranch dressing, and guess where they do it? At a chain called Pizza Ranch. Gillibrand, you better lean into this. She better lean into it. She better understand that she should be the ranch queen now. She should be bringing ranch to all these Iowans. I don't know if that's a violation of campaign finance, but am I right?
Wrong!
All right. That about brings it to our most popular segment here on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Sanders is now officially in the race, which means that we got to take a look at how he's going to do. Folks, we're going to do it in the only way we know how. Folks, this is a way too early North Carolina dance. This is a Civitas poll taken from February 11th to February 13th with a sample of 500 likely voters and a margin of error of 4.4, pitting Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders against the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Coming up first to the stage, he is the populist Pied Piper when it comes to the hearts and minds of the progressive left. He's in the top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1%. With 34% of the vote, it is Bernie Sanders! But your headliner, with 46% of the vote, he is the conductor of the Trump train. He is looking to finish his wall. He just declared a state of emergency for the heart of his supporters. The 45th President of the United States, Donald That is 46% of the vote for Trump, 34% of the vote for Sanders, with a 12-point spread. Well, 12 points, man. Remember that North Carolina was not a good state for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is going to have three major issues that haunted him in 2016 haunt him yet again in the 2020 primary. He's not in line with his party on immigration. He's not in line with his party on guns. And he did very poorly with black voters in a race that didn't involve multiple black people running against him. Those are going to be issues that he will have to deal with. He will get criticized for that. In fact, Elizabeth Warren didn't say anything negative about Bernie Sanders yesterday, but did make sure to talk about how not cool the NRA was on Twitter. I wonder who has the best NRA grade amongst all of the 2020 Democratic primary candidates. Elizabeth Warren subtweeting. Ken is our first emailer. You can be like Ken. Go ahead and email us, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. This is indeed But Your Emails. Ken writes, what do you think the media will do if the Mueller report comes back with no evidence? Trump colluding with the Russians. Will they move on to the next big thing? Will they investigate more seriously the Trump narrative that it was all set up by people in the previous administration? How long do you think the 90% negative press coverage of Trump can continue? Will there be fatigue and backlash? Will it continue until he leaves office? Give the media a grade by whatever criteria you think is important from before Trump was nominated now, and what do you think it will be when Trump finally leaves office? All right, I'll answer these the best I can in the order in which they were delivered. What will happen if the Mueller report comes back inconclusive? The media will move on. The Democrats will not. It will become their new Benghazi. How long do you think negative press coverage of Donald Trump will continue? Forever. Yeah, that ain't going away. Now, to give the media a grade, I will have to take a quibble with your question, good sir, and say that I hate saying the media does this or the media does that. It's an intentionally broad and unrepresentative blanket statement. But between the Trump administration's leaking and relaxed reporting standards in the pursuit of scoops, I think that we are in a very speculative period for political reporting. I have made much fun of the who farted and where kind of stories, the multiple unsourced stories. I just don't think they're great. I don't think that they improve the public's relationship with the media, and it becomes harder and harder to dispute when sources on the record, like Donald Trump does on Twitter, says this is made up. Unless you can show him something, show the public something, show the receipts, it's hard to refute it. And I don't think that's good. So that would be my grade of the media. The media, quote unquote. Another Ken writes, Dan Carlin was saying that Reagan was so right-wing he moved both parties, the Democrats and Republicans, to the right. Do you think Bernie, being more left-wing than a Swedish midwife, will be that correcting force that moves the American political spectrum back in tune with the rest of other Western democracies? Ken, Reagan won, and he was very popular in winning. If Bernie wins and he's very popular in winning, then he will move the parties. He was already popular enough to move the scope of the Democratic Party. The question is whether or not in a presidential election that gets him elected. If it does, yes. If it doesn't, then welcome to the dustbin of history along with Walter Mondale and Adlai Stevenson. Kimberly G writes, I'm a super liberal trans woman, just to get my bias out of the way. I liked watching, this was in response to whether or not Chuck and Nancy fucked up by not trying to pursue the DACA thing, considering that Trump has now basically called their bluff and declared national emergency to build the wall. And now that window is gone to try to make a deal for something off the Democratic wish list. I asked liberal voters if they thought that was a missed opportunity. Kimberly writes, I very much liked watching Chuck and Nance make Trump wiggle around like a worm for a while there to get his fence. I'm extremely against a wall for environmental reasons, not so much for the metaphorical or symbolic reasons most people are against it, or just the bad use of money. In short, no, I don't hold it against them for missing out on DACA. I think they did the right thing, and I would have done it the same. If Trump chose to change the rules, then make a new plan with new rules, I think it's hard to predict what the orange man is going to do. That being said, I'm only 23 and I've only been following politics for 5 years. I haven't seen much except this administration, so maybe I'm wrong. Sorry for the rambling, shitty email. Kim, don't worry. That was not a shitty email, nor was it rambling. Believe you me, I've had to edit down half these goddamn Moby Dick novels that get sent into me. Yours was read exactly as it was written. And that, in my opinion, is pretty fucking sweet, my lady. That being said, I'm glad you wrote in. Because I do wonder whether or not at some point, maybe not now, but at some point, we are going to see some kind of backlash on the fact that if Trump starts turning the screws, or if he starts messaging like, yeah, DACA was on the table, Nancy wouldn't even meet with me, Chuck wouldn't even meet with me, then at that point you have to wonder, like, this is people's lives we're talking about. Like, DACA ain't just an idea. It could keep 21 Savage in this country. Alex in Dallas writes, you asked in the latest episode how people feel about Beto. As someone that voted for him in 2018, let me say that I have no confidence he has any idea what he's doing. Everyone I know hates Ted Cruz, but Beto has been a clusterfuck from around September of 2018 until now. If he goes up against Cornyn in the general, I'd probably vote for him since I'm a liberal, but I don't think that there'd be any excitement like there was in the previous cycle. Honestly, I hope he stays on his journey to find himself and never comes back. Alex from Dallas, thank you so much for writing in. This is interesting. Because literally everybody anecdotally that I know that was like hardcore for Beto, like donated to his campaign, went out to the rallies, bought those fucking Whataburger t-shirts, were Beto from morning, noon, and night. All they thought about, Beto. They all sound a lot like Alex from Dallas. Like, that they were like, what the fuck, man? All right, that was cool. That was fun. I don't know how you didn't win, but in the cold light of day, if you're not running against Ted Cruz, I don't know how much I like you now. I don't think that bodes well for Beto. By the way, I'm thinking less and less that Beto's going to run. For president, at least. I think he might run for the Senate again against John Cornyn. And finally, Swerve'em writes, I was listening to your discussion of Trump using the fear of what the Democrats could do with the emergency declaration of being a campaign rallying cry, and it makes me afraid that if the declaration isn't stopped in the courts, it's going to be an acceleration of the partisan civil war that seems to be willing to sacrifice checks and balances and some of the core principles of U.S. democracy in the name of stopping the enemy. If every politician is forced into a place where they need to grab more power in the name of keeping the power that they've already grabbed out of the hands of the evil enemy, how can anyone back down? Well, Swerve'em, let me tell you, I don't know, but I do know this. This train has no brakes, my friend. If it is an escalation of executive power that you want, well, boy, howdy. Let me tell you, we got a gigantic arms race going on, and I can't see any opportunity for that to stop.
Politics.
I want to encourage everybody to go back and listen to the interview I posted on the feed this week. It was with Rabbi Shalom Bachner. It was about how the rules of the road, how to criticize Jewish mega donors, Jewish advocacy organizations, Jewish lobbying organizations, and the state of Israel itself without falling into anti-Semitic tropes. I really like this interview. I'd encourage you to go listen to it, because otherwise I just talked for an hour about the protocols on the Elders of Zion for no reason. So go ahead and check it out. You can email this show at theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Music has been provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. You can follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere, and you can download archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. Sick of having awful political conversations online? come on into our Discord. bit.ly/jury discord. Again, bit.ly/JURY Discord. DISCORD. All right. That about wraps it up for us today. I want to thank everybody for coming and listening. Remember that some shows talk about politics. Others talk about politics. Still more talks about politics. But this one right here, oh, it talks about all three.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.